The next, basically two topics according to your syllabus, so far as 11th standard is concerned. It's motion in one dimension, and then very next topic is motion in two dimensions. Basically, when I'm saying motion in one dimension, so it means motion either along x-axis, okay, or motion along y-axis. So whenever I say motion in one dimension, it means the motion will take place in along x-axis, or the motion will take place along y-axis. When I say motion in two dimensions, basically, so then in that case, the motion will take place along two axes simultaneously. And when I say two axes, the two axes which I'm talking about is x and y axis. So when we talk about a motion in two dimension, I'm specifically talking about a concept called as projectile motion. So where do we come across projectile motion? So you can see launching of missile, motion of a golf ball. These all things will come under this type of motion where an object follows a parabolic path and reaches its destination. We would call it as projectile motion. Right. When we talk about projectile motion, you can see, the analysis has to be made along x as well as y axis. Okay. When we talk about projectile motion, the analysis has to be made along x and y axis. So together along x and y axis, we will have to analyze. So prior to that, let's understand how far we are good in, um, recovering the concept so far as motion in one dimension is concerned. So slowly we are going to switch over to projectile motion. But before we switch over to projectile motion, there are certain basic steps which we need to follow. Okay. So we will try recalling these steps. Maybe you might have studied it in, your school at level 9 or 10. I don't know exactly. 9 or 10, somewhere there. But then we have to take those concepts into account now. Right. So let's see. So there are certain basic things which we need to think over. So the first one, what's the difference between speed and velocity? So whenever we talk about motion, motion will be the relative change in the position of an object with respect to observer. Motion is a relative concept basically, isn't it? So similarly, when we talk about motion, we define motion, there are certain parameters associated with motion. The first parameter which you encounter when you talk about motion is the speed and velocity. Now, there is a smart difference between these two terms, speed and velocity. Let's understand what's the difference between the two. Okay, so for that we will have to work out a figure, friends. Okay, so here in this figure which I'm going to draw now, the particle will travel from A to B, point A to point B, along path A, C, D, B in time interval T. Okay, so this is the path I'm talking about. Okay, I'm just showing you the axis, X and Y axis. We try to, trace the motion of this particular particle. So initially the particle you can see was at A, right? From A, it moves to position C. From C, it moves to the new position D. And from D, ultimately it reaches the position B. Right. Now, when we talk about this, there is difference between distance and displacement. So, if it is asked to calculate distance, then you will calculate all these lengths. Okay, length AC, last length CD, last DB. Okay, so this would have been the distance. But when we talk about displacement, it's the shortest distance between the initial and final position. So the displacement could have been, the displacement will be, the distance between A and B directly. That will be displacement. So that's the difference between distance and displacement. Okay. So once we understand what's the difference between the distance and displacement, you can define the two things. Okay. So what do you do is you define average speed as the ratio of distance traveled by the particle to the time t. Now, when I say distance traveled, that means I'll have to work out the entire length from A to C, C to D, and D to B. Okay, so that's how I will get average speed. So speed you will define it as distance traveled by particle per unit time. That's how you define speed. Speed is a scalar quantity which will need only magnitude for its description. But when it comes to velocity, velocity is a vector quantity. We all know, friends, vector quantities need magnitude as well as direction for their description. So here in this case, when I was talking about speed, I did talk about distance per unit time. But when I'm talking about velocity, I will talk about displacement per unit time. Now, what is the difference between distance and displacement? I told you from this graph, you can see, the distance would be, you'll be measuring it from A to C, D to D, and D to B. Okay, the entire thing will be distance. Whereas when we talk about displacement, the shortest distance between A and B will be the displacement. So you can see. Okay, average speed will be given as distance per unit time. You know how to work out distance. Right? But then when we talk about a velocity, basically, you can see you will draw a vector from initial to final position, and that will give you the displacement. Agree? So A to B, how you work out displacement. So the animation will show you. You work out the displacement here. Okay, so you can just check out. This animation is showing you from A to B. The arrow is getting projected from A to B. Now from this arrow A to B is displacement. Now while defining velocity, this displacement will be taken into account, right? So let's see. Let's define average velocity. So it's the ratio of, you can see, displacement of the particle to time t. Okay, so you can see it will be defined as displacement divided by time. What is this displacement? And whatever notations you see on the top of the any quantity, that's an arrow. Okay, this represented typological error over here. Just put it as arrow. Okay, why arrow? Because it's a vector quantity. Vectors are represented by arrow on their head. You can see
Sir,
displacement.
can you show the previous slide,
Yeah,
please?
I'm going to come back to those slides. I'm just giving you an idea. So for you to take screenshots, I'm going to show all these slides once again. No problem. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's now slowly what I'll do is I'll show you the slides so that you take a screenshot of all this and they serve as notes for you people. Okay. Yeah. First of all, take a screenshot of this because then this part will go. Okay. So the first slide explains about the diagram only, where we are trying to decipher the difference between distance and displacement first. And what's the objective? The objective is to define speed and velocity. Although they look similar, basically, there is a difference. One is a scalar quantity, whereas other is a vector quantity. Okay, hopefully I've taken the note of this. We move ahead. So now you can take the screenshot of this, okay, where you have defined speed. Friends. Oh, sorry. Yeah, take it down. Make a note of this. So get habituated to taking screenshots. Okay, they can serve as notes for you people later. Hopefully done. Let's move ahead. Yeah. Now then comes the next slide where we are actually representing displacement. Again, you can see how you represent displacement. The arrow moves from A to B in the animation, and average velocity will be the ratio of displacement of the particle per unit time or to time. Here, there are the arrows on the head of these quantities, and they represent that these are the scalar vector quantities. So that arrow is also called as a bar on its head. So hopefully, you have taken made a note of this. So slowly, we will get into the greater details of this motion. motion in one dimension or one direction, you can say. Dimensions मतलब क्या होता है? Or if you talk about, everything is three dimensional basically. You have to analyze it along x, y, and z axis. But in the preliminary levels, we are just trying to analyze it along x and y. And when we move for the analysis for x and y, initially we will just think about x and y individually or in an isolated manner, and then we will proceed, towards a mixed type of analysis where we understand motion in both the dimensions x and y simultaneously. Hopefully things are pretty clear till here. So let's understand what is a projectile. Okay. Let's go ahead. How do you define a projectile? I have shown you the first slide itself, a missile being fired or a ball being thrown or a golf ball being given a hit. All these objects will perform a motion called as projectile motion. They move in a parabolic manner, not circular. That curve is called as parabolic. Such term we call it as projectile. So projectile is a body basically. So a stone can be a projectile at times. The missile can be a projectile. Aeroplane flying in the air can be a projectile. Projectile is a body basically, which is projected in vertical xy plane, making certain angle with the horizontal, and is allowed to move freely under the action of gravity. So body is called as a projectile. Yeah. The next definition which you should know here, so far as understanding projectile motion is concerned, is regarding velocity of projection. Right. So whatever velocity with which the object is projected, that velocity will be called as velocity of projection. Let's move ahead. Angle of projection. Yeah. So whatever angle that velocity is going to make with horizontal, so whenever you throw a stone, you make some angle with the horizontal and throw, right? So that angle is angle of projection, you can see. Okay, so the angle made by a velocity of projection with horizontal is called as angle of projection. Now, what's a trajectory, friends? So trajectory is the path followed by a projectile. The first slide I told you, I showed you the path of how a missile was fired or how a golf ball is hit and how it moves. The path followed by it is called as trajectory. Okay, so this is something which you need to think over. The path traced by the projectile in space is called as trajectory. So these are some basic terminologies or definitions which you should be acquainted with, okay, before we actually start discussing motion in greater detail. This is just a background work we are doing. Maybe today's session or tomorrow's session is a background work for understanding a greater part of it, and that is projectile motion. Hopefully things are pretty clear till here. You can take a note of this before we move ahead towards the further basic concepts which we need to go across with. Hopefully done. Yeah. So let's talk about, we did talk about what was average velocity and average speed. Now there is another parameter which you need to consider while understanding motion. So acceleration of a particle. Okay. What is acceleration? This is again an important aspect to be understood when we are trying to understand motion in general. Okay? So let's see. So motion of a particle is said to be accelerated basically if what changes? The velocity keeps on changing with respect to time. So when velocity changes with respect to time, you can see acceleration is imparted to the material or the particle. You can. So how do you define acceleration then in that case? The rate of change of velocity, you will call it as acceleration. Simple enough terms. Okay. So for a given time interval, you can see the average acceleration. Okay, I'm not saying acceleration. Now we're talking about average acceleration. So it will be defined as change in velocity to corresponding time interval in which the change in velocity has occurred. Okay, this is how you define average acceleration. Yeah. So here you can see a ऊपर इसके बार है which represents the vector quantity will be change in velocity. So final velocity minus initial velocity divided by time. Whatever is there at the top, you can see the typological error. You just put it as bar. Okay, what bar represents? The quantities which you have mentioned, they are the vector quantities. So slowly we want to study the vector quantities also in greater detail. We have to study vector for understanding motion. We need to study vector quantities in greater details also. Okay? So we are dealing with vector quantities. We are dealing with the basic parameters like velocities and acceleration. Okay. Now just imagine the third point over here. What they say, if the acceleration is constant, so what can you say about the motion if acceleration is constant? So we will call such kind of motion as uniformly accelerated motion. So remember that. If somebody asks you how to define uniformly accelerated motion, then you should say if the acceleration remains constant, then it's uniformly accelerated. Okay, so whenever you talk about acceleration, there will be always change in velocity. But then this change in velocity, if it is changing at a uniform rate, then we say the acceleration will be constant, and then we can term that type of motion as uniformly accelerated motion. Now, what is deceleration or retardation? So you try to imagine acceleration can be of two types. Okay, positive acceleration where the object gains momentum, it starts moving, the motion is set. Then we say the body is moving with a positive acceleration. But imagine for a train driver to stop a train, he has to apply a brake. So slowly that time also the velocity will change, but that change will be in a negative sense. That means instead of acceleration increasing, acceleration would decrease, and that decrement in acceleration will be termed as either negative acceleration, or you also call it as retardation. The other name for negative acceleration is deceleration. The best example for understanding deceleration or negative acceleration is when brakes are applied by the driver of a train to stop the train. Okay, so that time the train will undergo deceleration. Now, very next point, if you observe, so we are studying acceleration in greater detail, friends. Okay, as of now, it's not only about defining some definitions and moving forward superficially. We'll have to think about every aspect with a greater details, greater details. The next point, the last point here, you can see on the screen, zero acceleration, what it corresponds to. So if there is no acceleration, what does that mean? The velocity is not changing. Okay, that means the change in the velocity is zero. Acceleration is zero means the change in velocity is zero. That means the velocity is not changing. That means it is representing constant velocity. Okay, and it also indicates, you can see that the motion is necessarily along a straight line because the velocity is not changing. Very important point to be made. So take a note of this before we move ahead. You know very well what corrections you're supposed to make on this slide. Okay, so instead of whatever is the representation here on A, V2 and V1, the bar arrow on this, so that you are representing vector quantities, friends.
Sir, what is above the V2 and V1?
V2, you have an arrow, a bar on this, okay, small arrow, which represents that V2 is final velocity, but it is a vector quantity. Again, an arrow on the head of V1 also represents that it's a vector quantity. And arrow on the head of acceleration over there, this also represents a vector quantity. So this is how vector quantities are represented. We will study vector quantities in greater details also in the coming sessions, okay? Because that is also needed for understanding motion. ये सब किसके लिए हो रहा है हमको मोशन ठीक से स्टडी करना है once you understand motion you can be in a position to solve complicated problems on this. Okay? Hopefully you have taken a note of this. We move ahead then. Okay. So this motion can be represented in terms of position time graph. When I'm saying position, That means I'm talking about displacement of the particle. Okay. When I'm saying time, time is a scalar quantity. So on x-axis I'll be plotting time, and on y-axis I'll plot displacement. And let's see, for different cases, you can come across different graphs which we term it as position time graphs. Okay, so let's see, let's try analyzing situation. Okay, the first point to be understood over here is when a body is in motion, obviously its position changes with time. And it can be represented by the position time graph for different way. That's what I was saying in the initial stages. So let's talk about certain cases. The first case can be the object is at rest. Now when I say the object is at rest, then how the graph would look like? Okay, let's try drawing the graph. It will be a parallel axis basically for to the time. You can, if I am trying to plot, time on y-axis and position or displacement on x-axis, so I just interpreted it over here. You can see, okay. So whatever, either you put the x over here, you put y over here, no problem. But then how the graph would look like, you can see it will be parallel to time axis. So whichever time axis you have considered. So here x-axis should be considered time basically. So just change it. Okay, so let this be x-axis, let this be y-axis. Okay, so independent quantity is always plotted on x-axis and dependent quantity is always plotted on y-axis. So just interchange this. Okay, this is y and this is x, and time is independent of position, so on x-axis, but position depends on time, therefore it is plotted on y-axis. You have to make that correction. Okay, here it should be y and here it should be x. But then having said that, we are discussing the first case, object at rest. So how would the graph look like? You can see the position is not changing. Time बढ़ रहा है, but the position is not changing. Okay. It will be a parallel line, you can see, to the time axis, right? So this is how the position time graph for the first case would look like when object is at rest. Take a screenshot of this. Interchange the position of x and y. Remember that. Don't forget to do that. Take a screenshot before we discuss, so that we can discuss the next case. Here, the first case where the object was at rest, and the name of the topic is position time graph. All right, hopefully you have taken a screenshot of this. Let's move ahead then. Yeah, the second case, the object is in uniform motion. Now, for this type of motion, where the object is in uniform motion, how would the graph look like? Position time graph I'm talking about. So we can see what happens in uniform motion. So object which moves with a velocity which remains constant. So velocity has to remain constant in magnitude and direction because it's a vector quantity. Such motion is uniform motion, okay, where the velocity remains constant in magnitude and direction. So now if that is the case, okay, so how would the graph look like? So in this case, you can see the object was at rest, and how would the slope of the graph would be? Okay, so I'm drawing the graph. You can see I'm plotting. Again, here also they have done the same thing. Here you can just interchange x and y. Okay, just make that correction. But then how would the graph? Graph would be a parallel axis now. Okay, graph would be a line passing through origin because I'm making some angle theta like this, because as the time increases, the position is also changing. So it's covering equal distances in equal time. So how would the graph look like? The graph would be a straight line passing through origin, you can see, making some angle theta, and that theta can be termed as, you can work it out in terms of slope of this line. Okay, you can see, so you can put it as tan theta, and tan theta is the slope of this line, okay, which you have drawn. That will be given as, very well know, it is x2 minus x1 upon t2 minus t1. This is how you work out the slope of a straight line. And what is this slope giving you basically? When you work out the slope of the straight line, this is change in displacement. per unit change in time, so it will be velocity. So you can see the slope of position time graph gives you velocity. Remember that. Okay, so the slope is positive and constant, so which indicates constant velocity in this case. So you can see this is how you plot x1 for the coordinate p1. Similarly, x2 for coordinate p2. You can just drop perpendiculars on x and y axis and work out things. So take a note of this. Now this is the second case which we have discussed, where the object will move in uniform motion and the position time graph would look somewhat like this. When I say somewhat like this, it's a clear indicator over here that it's a line passing through, a straight line passing through origin. And what is the slope of this line giving you? It's giving you the velocity. Earlier केस का स्लोप कितना था, पैरेलल था ना एक्सिस, तो स्लोप था ही नहीं, जीरो था, और वेलोसिटी भी जीरो था उसका, क्योंकि वो मूव ही नहीं हो रहा. So take a note of this. Hopefully done. Then we move ahead to the next. Hopefully you have noted it down. Let's move ahead. Let's discuss the next case. अभी पिछला केस क्या था, ऑब्जेक्ट इन यूनिफॉर्म मोशन. So but obvious, the next case will be object in non-uniform motion. Now when do we say the object is in non-uniform motion? Okay, that's one thing to understand. So in this case, you can see the body has no displacement. Initially has no displacement, and then it will move with a velocity which keeps on changing. So velocity keeps on changing means acceleration keeps on happening or taking place. So in this case, the slope is positive but variable. And how would the graph look like? Now, if you have to indicate a variable velocity, obviously it won't be a straight line trend. So plot time and position in this manner on the graph. It will be a curved line like this. It won't be a straight line. The positive graph, the slope is positive. But then you put it this way, okay? It's not a straight line now. It's a curved line, curvilinear line starts from origin in this manner. This is how you represent object which is moving in a non-uniform motion. Take a note of this. Okay, hopefully you have taken the note of this. Let's quickly move ahead towards the next part. Important question to be answered or to be thought over. When the motion is non-uniform, then how we work out the speed? There are two types of speed which we will be working out: average and instantaneous.
Excuse me, sir. Please show previous slide.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. So you let me know once you are done with it so that we can, move ahead. Okay. If you are okay with it, we move ahead.
Done, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, Ananya. Yeah, my voice is breaking, so maybe because of the signals, at times they, appear, disappear. So don't worry. I mean, as it will get sorted out. Therefore, I keep on repeating things, so that you don't miss anything. Okay, and I'm going very slow for that purpose. Okay, so but anything you miss because of the breakage of my voice, let me know so that I can always rediscuss those things. No issues. So let that be an interactive session. All right. Okay, let's move ahead. This is something which I was talking about. When the motion is non-uniform motion, then how we work out. So we have to find average speed and instantaneous speed in this manner. Okay. So for average speed, what you do is you plot position time graph like this. Okay. And what you will do, you will work out the coordinate x1 for t1, similarly x2 for t2, right? And then what you can do, you can plot the average speed like this. Okay, del x by del t. Look here. You have to be very careful about this. Del x by del t. What is del x by del t representing? Okay, del x by del t. Del x represents x2 minus x1. Okay, and del t will represent t2 minus t1. So the time gap between the intervals, basically two intervals. And here x1 and x2 are the different positions which have been plotted. Okay, so this is how you work out average speed, my dear friend. All right, so you work out the average speed. Instantaneous speed. Now, average speed is something, say for example, you have taken average. If the vehicle starts from Pune to Mumbai, for example, not necessarily, every time the speed would be 100 kilometers per hour. Sometimes it will be 10, sometimes it would be 0, sometimes 80, 60, 40, sometimes 100. You have to take an average value of that. So average value is taken in this manner from the graph. Remember this. When it comes to instantaneous value, how you work out the instantaneous value? Again, the same graph we are talking about. You can see the second diagram also. You are actually working on the same graph, but you will be working it out differently. Okay, instantaneous speed. What does that mean? At a given instant. Say for example, in 2 hours motion, if I wanted to know what was the speed after 1 hour and 10 minutes, then I'm finding out the speed at that instant after 1 hour 10 minutes. Because after 1 hour and 11 minutes, the speed would be different. So if I'm talking about a particular instant and I work out the speed at that instant, then that speed is called as instantaneous speed, and it is represented in a very different or a new format. So it's very important for you to get comfortable with this format. So you can see graphically what I'm going to do. I'm going to draw a tangent like this. So you see a tangent being drawn. Again, I am showing you the animation. A tangent to be drawn to this curve like this. Okay. So AB is that tangent. And obviously, it's touching the curve at point P. And I take the slope of this tangent. Okay. So if I take the slope of this tangent, I get the instantaneous speed at point P. Now, if I want it at some point Q, I will place the tangent at Q and I'll take its slope. The slope of this tangent will give you instantaneous speed, but numerically, how you represent instantaneous speed, this is something to be thought over. Okay, so we place it in this manner. Okay, very new type of notation, friends. Concentrate very well. So it's like instantaneous. So you don't consider this as average. Okay, when you solve this, then it gets converted into average. So instantaneous speed, okay, not average, will be equal to limit how you speak. First of all, this is something new for you, new representation. So I'm placing this delta x by delta t over here. But then I'm putting it in a bracket and I'm placing a limiting function over here. Limit delta t tending to 0. Again, how you read it, please concentrate. Okay, this is something which you will be doing it for the first time. And consequently, you have to do it again and again. So you should get comfortable with these type of notations here itself. Okay? Mathematics also you will be studying this in greater details, but then physics and mathematics will go hand in hand. Remember that. Okay. So how you speak about it? Instantaneous speed. You'll speak about it like this. Limit. LIM means limit. Limiting value. Limit delta t tending to 0. When I say delta t is tending to 0, what does that mean? Delta t is about to become 0, but it has not become 0. That means T2 is very near T1, but T2 is not exactly at T1. That means the difference between the two has not become 0, but it is nearly 0, about to become 0. We are talking about that particular instant. Okay. So delta t tending to 0. Hopefully you understood what I mean by saying tending to 0. What it means is delta t tending to 0 means delta t is approaching that value 0, but it has not approached. It is about to approach, very near to that value. Yeah. So when you find out delta x by delta t for this limiting function, then that particular thing will be called as instantaneous. This is how you work it out mathematically. If you want to work out these things graphically, what you're supposed to do, you're supposed to do a tangent and take a slope of this. You can get the instantaneous speed. So this is how you will work out average speed from graph. This is how you will work out instantaneous speed from the graph. Okay, this is something which I wanted to tell you today. And as I have said, we would be discussing in 40-minute sessions basically, so that you remain fresh. And slowly I will increase the time interval. It can go up to 1 hour slowly. Okay, but we will start with 30, 35, 40 minutes first. Slowly I will increase it to 45. Hopefully things are pretty clear till here. Okay. Please let me know